Okay, welcome to the New Student Pharmacist podcast experience. We're so glad you're listening in today. Feel free to download and share this podcast. Here on this podcast, we discuss chemistry, pharmacy, and we also discuss successful leaders and their stories and their impact in society. We're so happy you're tuning in today. My guest today is Mr. John Dwyer, widely known as JD, a marketing expert specializing in direct response marketing and innovative client attraction strategies. JD's marketing ideas have driven over 15 billion in additional sales for businesses across the globe. And he's the founder of the Institute of Wow. Definitely something to know. Thanks for joining me today. It's so good to have you here, all the way from Australia. So
Yes,
it's
my
definitely good.
my pleasure, David. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So as we get started, what inspired you to pursue a career in direct response marketing, and how did your early experiences shape your approach to this field?
Yeah, look, I probably, David, it's probably best to describe for anyone who's watching or listening what direct response marketing is, because I think we've all been brought up with thinking we need to build a brand, and we do. Don't get me wrong. We buy Toyota because it's Toyota, and we buy Kellogg's because it's Kellogg's, and we wear Nike shoes because it's Nike. But there's a lot of people out there in your profession and other professions who just don't have deep pockets to sponsor the Olympics and get their name out there. And so what direct response marketing is advertising on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram today and getting a response tomorrow. So that's why it's called direct response. It's quite a different form of advertising. McDonald's do it with the Happy Meal toys. They say, look, buy a Happy Meal and we'll give you a toy. Now that's a direct response offer. So I thought I'd mention that right up front. So whoever's watching or listening, they understand what direct response advertising is all about, as opposed to putting their face on the side of a bus. And again, just so that if you refer to me as JD, people know what that means. My name is John Dwyer, but since about 10 years of age, people have just used the initials JD. They call me a lot of other names too, by the way, David, but anyway, we won't go into that. When I was closer to your age, in my early 20s, I wanted to get into doing something artwork wise. I was pretty good at artwork at school, but I could see the digital world was around the corner. No one ever knew that AI was going to come here and take it to the next level, but I could see digital, marketing was coming along. So I thought, well, there's not much money in being an artist. So I thought I would then pivot into something that basically was still creative, and that's marketing. So I got a job at Australia's biggest supermarket chain, and there was a company called Woolworths. And when I was at Woolworths, I was able to learn a lot about what I've just mentioned a moment ago, direct response marketing. They would say, come and shop at our supermarket and we'll give you a free gift for every $30 that you spend. So I got a good feel for this direct response marketing and thought, well, I'll go out and do it myself.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds like a lot of strategy is involved in direct response marketing. Yeah. So how do you balance the demanding responsibilities of running a marketing business with other aspects of your life to ensure a holistic perspective or good integration of your career and personal well-being?
David, I wish I had the answer to that. I wish I had the answer to that.
Love
Um,
it.
Yeah, I've got six children, so it's been a very busy life, and they're all grown up and left home now. But at one stage, we had six children under 12, and I wish I knew how to balance it because when you've got the Von Trapp family, you have to run fast to put food on the table, and that's what I did. Yeah, I have to say that I cannot tell too many people how to balance things because I didn't balance them. When we had 1,000 children, I had to run pretty fast, and so therefore it was midnight to bed, and 5:30 a.m. you'd get up, and yeah, you had to run fast. And as we grew the business, it was much better because I had 20 staff at one stage, and so therefore I could give jobs to other people. But in those early days when we had a whole bunch of children and there was only me, yes, I just didn't sleep. That's it. My advice to anyone, if you have six kids, just be prepared not to sleep.
Okay, that's fair and that's realistic too. So I understand where you're coming from. So, in terms of your innovative approaches in marketing, what innovative approaches do you employ when you do your direct response marketing, and what to ensure that they resonate with the audiences, especially considering the evolving digital landscapes? What has changed in what you do for the year?
Yeah, and look, so David, so I can structure my answers to some of these questions that would suit most of your audience. What's the demographics of your audience? Who are they?
Basically, so we're looking at people who are in the range of 23 to 45, early career professionals. We're looking at people mainly in the US, some in the UK, some in Australia, some in like scattered throughout other continents. However, majority of the clients is in the Northeast.
Good. Okay, okay. Well, look, what I'll do, I'll give out a free gift at the. I'll give you the details for this at the end of the interview. But I've written a book, and when your business is called the Institute of Wow, you can't write a little book. This is the size of a tabloid newspaper, as you can see. So therefore, it goes from my waist to my chin. It's a very big book, and I'll give this for free to everyone. And the reason I asked you that question is because I didn't know whether this would be relevant to your audience, but this will be very relevant to your audience if they're between 20 something and 40 something, because this is the last 15 or 20 years of my life of the most successful direct response campaign. So inside here are things that I've done it's a 300-page book. And by the way, I can't send you the real book. It costs $420 to print. This is a gigantic book with leather bound and gold tipped edges. But what I will do is give you the digital version. So it's probably better for anyone these days. But inside here are case studies after case studies after case studies of successful direct response campaigns. And the reason I bring that up is because what a lot of people do is they go to college or university to become a good doctor or dentist or butcher or baker. So they're a very, very good technician, but they're hopeless at marketing. And so therefore, I always ask anyone, I mean, we have a couple of dental practices on at the moment. And I say to them, when you did your dental degree at university or college, did they ever teach you how to get patients? Did they ever teach you how to get clients? And the answer is no. And so if you go to any university or any college, they'll teach you how to be a good technician, but no one ever teaches you how to get customers, right? And that's why there's a lot of empty doctor surgeries and a lot of empty dental surgeries out there. And, just the phone's not ringing for a lot of these good technicians because they're great at their trade, but no one ever taught them how to get customers. So really, what I would say to anyone who's, in business is that, if you don't have deep pockets, you can't go down the brand building path. And so all of these gurus will tell you you've got to build a brand. But, the thing is that, if you get home tonight and you say to the family, I got 300 likes on Facebook, the kids might say to you, Daddy, that's great, but we have no food, right? Can we get some food? And so, forget about vanity metrics until you do get bigger. The whole idea of direct response marketing is exactly what I said before. McDonald's say to you, if you buy, a Happy Meal, you'll get a toy. Kellogg's have been doing it for 50 years. If you buy cornflakes, you get a free toy. Amazon do it. They say, if you join the Prime membership club that we have, guess what? You get free shipping, free music, and free movies, and so on and so forth. So if you're the little corner shop sitting opposite Costco, and you think you're going to beat Costco on price, then you're on drugs, okay? There's no way you're going to beat Costco on price. But if you say, look, for every $100 you spend in my little store, then I will give you a movie ticket, or I will give you a dining voucher, or I will give you some sort of bonus, Costco will never, ever match you. They'd have to have 6 months worth of committee meetings even to think about it. And so what I say to people, and of course my business is called the Institute of Wow, so I'm biased, but I say that you've got to have a wow factor outside of your product offering that will get people not only off the fence, but will stop them looking at your price. McDonald's have stopped us looking at the price of their Happy Meal for 45 years because they give us a toy.
Okay, yeah, I get you. This is good. So, would you call several things I lost? Would you call this strategy this direct response marketing strategy? You call it basically providing people low-hanging fruit, or giving them compensation or some type of reward for them being engaged in the business product offering that the person may have? Would you call it that?
Yeah, look, a lot of people call it an ethical bribe. I mean, it is a bribe, buy my product and I'll give you a free toy or free movie pass or free dining voucher, whatever it might be. So it is a bribe. There's no doubt about that. But it's an ethical bribe. As long as we have an association with a travel company. I did a campaign some years ago that I got Jerry Seinfeld to be the spokesman for. And of course, I've milked that forever because not many people get to work with Jerry Seinfeld. So obviously, I bring it up. I bring it up in every interview. But what happened? I had a bank down under here in Australia, and they were a small bank up against the big Wells Fargo sort of banks, right? And they were trying to win on interest rates. I said, "You're never going to win on interest rates with the Wells Fargo bank. They'll beat you every day." And they said, "Well, what do we do?" By the way, it's not such a small company. This was the 250th biggest company in Australia, but they weren't the size of the Wells Fargo Bank, right? So I said, "Well, listen, what you should do is you should stop, trying to beat the big guy on price and just simply give away a benefit when someone gets their home loan from you." And I had been doing some TV commercials for a travel company. So I introduced the travel company to the bank, and we came out with a campaign which was get a home loan from us and we'll give you a free vacation. It went nuts, absolutely nuts. All we did was cost neutral. We stopped the honeymoon rate because most banks, as you would know, when you get a home loan, they give you a break of 1% for the first year and then it jacks back up again in the second year. We just stopped that and we gave that to the travel company. And we had Jerry Seinfeld come on. He wasn't with us for the first few years, but after a few years, I got Seinfeld to come on TV here in Australia. And he said, get a home loan from this particular bank and you get a free vacation. It went through the stratosphere. And as a result of that, a travel company contacted me a few years ago and they said, look, we've got access to unsold hotel rooms around the world, Las Vegas, Orlando, New York, London, Paris, Rome. And I said, yeah, go on. And they said, look, outside of school vacations, these hotels are sitting empty, 30% empty, most of the year. They're happy to give us these hotel rooms for free. And we fill them by giving them to businesses to give away as a Happy Meal toy. And the hotel wins because they get money on for food and beverage. And so what we do now, we actually say to businesses, listen, why don't you do this? Tell people to buy your product or service and give them a free holiday, give them a free vacation. And we just give them the vacations for $50. These are 3 or 4 or 5 night vacations worth $1,000. But because the rooms are given to us for free, we can charge just $50. So therefore, we have businesses now saying, okay, buy my refrigerator or use my landscaping services or whatever it might be, and we'll give you a free vacation worth $1,000. Do you think that might make a difference to their conversion?
Definitely, it will make a difference. So to
Yeah.
make this even more practical to people who are mainly listening, like we have a lot of people within the STEM career space. So what advice or what strategies have you seen that work well when people have, for example, maybe a dental practice or pharmacy business, or make it even more practical, some type of scientific book, graphic novel that they're trying to market? What type of tips or advice do you find that they can either apply or that you've seen that works well? What strategies do you employ within this realm of direct response marketing? If someone came to you, for example, let's do a scenario. If someone came to you, they wrote a graphic novel, a textbook, or they wrote some type of scientific novel, and they want to market it because it's within their realm of expertise. How would you go about employing direct response marketing to integrate
So
that into your
David, let me just get that clearly. So therefore, you're saying that a lot of people within your realm are, did you say book writers of their industry? Are you saying they're authors of a book about their industry?
not just book artists, but just STEM career professionals. So people within science, technology, engineering, mathematics,
Gotcha.
within that space. Yeah. But
Okay.
mainly within that
Okay.
space.
What I find is that people who are brilliant, and these people who
Um,
you speak of are pretty close to being brilliant, they're left-brained. Okay, I'm right-brained, which means I'm creative, but my IQ factor might be low. Okay, right. So hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's not.
mm,
But as you know, you've got your right-brained people who are like me. They're creative and they're a bit flamboyant, and they throw their farm at the next project. And then you've got the
mm,
left-brained people who are more going to be what you just said. They're going to be, brilliant doctors or dentists, or they might be inventors, or they might be scientists.
yep.
Left-brained people, they don't tend to be entrepreneurial, and that's just the way it is. They just don't tend to be entrepreneurial. But so they're not putting a house on the next project. All right. But what I would suggest to anyone who falls into that brilliant sort of area is, and you said pharmacists, for example. I walked into a pharmacy yesterday here in Australia, and I just bought a few bits and pieces, and I walked out, they had no clue who I was. The most simplest basic thing in marketing, whether it's direct response marketing or just overall marketing, is to collect data. You know, and I know that Amazon are where they are because they collect data. You can walk into
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's. You can walk into McDonald's today and they don't care who you are. They don't collect any data. Yes, they've got an app that you can, download, and, they put you through the hoops if you really do want to give them data, which who does? But no one collects data. My wife and myself went to a restaurant last night. We spent $120 and we left, and they don't know who we are. And so my view is that the very first thing you should be doing, whether you're an online business or whether you're bricks and mortar, is do not let people leave your environment without getting their name and their email and their phone number. Now, the main thing you're after, of course, is their email and phone number. We have a restaurant here in Australia, in Melbourne. It's the only restaurant in the world that's full 365 nights a year, and it's got 150 seats. And I'll tell you how he does that. And then any of your watchers or listeners can do this in their own business. It doesn't have to be a restaurant, okay? What happens is that he was spending $500,000 on local advertising. I said, look, stop that. Just give 50 cents to every one of your waitresses for every name and contact detail they get. Because when the waitress would walk up to the table and give a check to the 4 people who had just had lunch, she would say to them, would you like to be in a contest to win lunch for 6 of your friends at the end of the month? And they all go, yeah, we do. And she gives them a little bit of paper, old world style, a little bit of paper that says, win dinner for 6 of your friends at the end of the month. Give us your name, your email and phone number. 92% of people fill that in because it's a contest, okay? And what happens is that now he's got 80,000 on his database. What he does now as a restaurant, he gets his girl every afternoon at 3 o'clock to look how many seats are booked that night. And let's just say there's 70 seats of 150 that are booked. So they've got to fill another 80. She sends out a few hundred text messages, not emails, text messages, and says, it's called the Lobster Cave Restaurant. And she says, listen, Chef Pierre would like to invite you to our restaurant tonight for 2 people, a lobster tail meal for 2 for $68. Now, nobody leaves this restaurant for less than $200 a couple, all right? So therefore, they bottle water is $25. So therefore, guess what? Within 10 minutes, not 6 months, within 10 minutes, she walks back into the boss's office and says, we're all booked out. They do that every afternoon at 3 o'clock, and not once they have an empty seat in that restaurant any night of the year.
Wow.
Because
That's definitely some strategy. Go ahead.
Well, because they collected data. I mean, even in my own instance, if I say to my wife on a Friday, look, would you like to have a nice, slap up dinner tonight? We'll go to an expensive restaurant. She'll say, oh, well, yeah, okay. I said, look, we won't pay for it. I'll just send out an email to my list. I've got a 9,000 business owner list, and I'll send out, it might be a deal for this holiday program that we've got. The vouchers for this are normally $50. I might send out an email to my list and say, look, special Friday special, you can get 50 of these vouchers for just $30-something each. And guess what? 5 or 10 or 15 grand will come in from that mail out. And I'll say to my wife, there you go. I'm not treating you to dinner. My database just treated you to dinner, right?
Wow. That's what's
so
up.
the thing is, just collect bloody data, and then you will have an income stream you can tap into at any time.
Okay. Yeah, I get you. Very good information. So my question to you now is, switching gears, what role has mentorship played in your career or in your marketing journey? Do you have any mentors who have you or given you insight, or anyone who's advised you? What role has mentorship played in your career?
Yeah, look, in my instance, because I'm right-brained, and so therefore I've always been interested in anything that's creative. I guess the people that I've studied over my career, and people who would be entrepreneurs, are no different from me. I'm sure these names are not just people who have influenced me, but your Walt Disneys, the thing with, and your Richard Bransons, and of course, your Steven Spielbergs and George Lucas and people like that. And so I'm going to be, more interested in creative people than perhaps just ordinary successful people. So that's why, I do a lot of, or have done a lot of courses at Walt Disney World in Orlando. So even though we're down under, we're quite some distance from America. I used to be a Disney licensee. And that means is that when they came out with The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid, I would take out the licenses back in those days to produce the bubblegum cards. And so therefore, if you've grown up in America, you'd be familiar with Topps and Don Russ and all of these people that make the basketball cards. Well, I had a company in Australia that produced all of the football cards in Australia. And I went on to take the licenses for Batman, not that that's Disney, that's Warner Brothers, but Batman and DreamWorks and Disney. And so therefore I would, I'd be backwards and forwards to Disney's office in Los Angeles, 3, 4, 5 times a year. And of course, it cost me a fortune, David, because at the time I had 6 little kids. Can you imagine me leaving the house for Disneyland without taking them? So every business trip cost me, 20 or 30 grand because the Von Trapp family had to come. But anyway, what we did is that I got really close to Disney and understood how they ran their business. And then I found out that they have an institute, they have a university in Orlando, and it's at Walt Disney World. And you can book into that university for a week at a time, and you can learn from the Imagineers and the people who dream up all of their rides and then, a lot of their movies and pretty much a lot of the stuff that Disney does. They call them Imagineers because they're imagining things, right? And I got to say to you, it was the best money I've ever spent. It was incredible. You would be locked away for a week at the Disney Institute, and they would teach you how to run your business like Disney. And so if you said to me, well, what was the greatest influence? I'd probably say Disney. And David, you know why Walt Disney had a philosophy back in whatever it was when he was doing Disneyland, and it was called the plus one. And that is that when you think you've reached the pinnacle, just plus one it. And it's a very, people watching or listening to this might go, oh yeah, get out the violin. We've heard all this sort of stuff before. Push yourself, push yourself, push yourself. But, I've lost a couple of $1 million in 1 week many years ago. And, I felt like throwing the towel in. But the only way that I was going to get back on my feet, it was a printing mistake of someone that worked for me. They made a massive printing mistake. And so therefore we lost our house and all that stuff. But I have to say to you that the thing that really kept me going, aside from, saying some prayers, was just a never give up attitude. I just couldn't give up. I had to feed 6 kids. I just had to get up at 6 in the morning and go to bed at 1 a.m. the next day. And Walt Disney sort of subscribed to that. He basically said, when you think you've done it all, just plus one it. And Disney has the plus one campaign 24/7.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so important within community and also with values and a good strategy. So yeah, I agree with you completely. Very important. So as we start to wrap up, do you have any personal legacy or impact that you hope to leave in your marketing? What do you hope? What impact do you plan to leave or aspire to leave? Are there any marketers behind you coming up in your company who you think will be like as impactful as you have been, or who are impacting the business landscape in a similar way that you are impacting it? What legacy or impact do you plan or hope to leave behind?
Yeah, look, I guess it's, if you said to me, what would be, and I think what you're asking is what would be, I guess, the message that I would pass on to anyone coming through now. Look, we live in the AI age now, so I mean everything is fast. Everything is fast, and although I wasn't born in the horse and carriage era, the fact of the matter is that from the horse and carriage through to the jumbo jet, which may have been 90, 100 years, there was a lot of progress. That same level of progress, as happens now in 1 or 2 or 3 years, courtesy of AI. What I would say to anyone coming through now is that, for goodness sake, embrace this new AI technology. Even in our own instance now, we're launching next week a program whereby our robots will answer the phone for any business and not just take name and number, because obviously there's a lot of that out there. We're not the only ones. But what this particular program we have will schedule appointments and jobs for whoever it might be. For example, tradesmen, they can't get to the phone a lot of the times because they're on the top of the roof with a solar panel, or if it's a plumber, he's got his hand down your toilet, right? And so they miss a lot of calls. And I'm not saying we're the only ones that can get the robot to answer the call. There's a lot of them out there, but basically this system will be where a human style voice answers the phone and says, hello, it's Fred Electrical Services here. And you have a conversation with the robot. You don't know that it's a robot. It sounds like absolutely identical to a human. And then in that call, when Fred is on the roof putting a solar system in, he doesn't want a job 20 miles away from him after that one. He wants a job only 1 or 2 miles away from him, because that means he can squeeze more jobs in throughout the day. He's not losing time driving his car. What our robot will do is actually schedule the next appointment to a postcode that's close to him, which is just incredible. And yeah, we're launching this next week. We've had a crash test dummy company go through this with us over the last 3 months, and it's now perfected. It is an incredibly clever campaign. And we do this for businesses for a lousy $197 a month. So therefore, they don't have to use the Filipino or Indian call centers anymore, which would cost a lot more than that. And always there's a language barrier with that. We can do this in any accent. So it doesn't matter whether it's America or whether it's English or whether it's an Australian accent. The robot, of course, is sophisticated enough to sound like whatever accent you want. And the reason I'm bringing that up, you might say, well, what's that got to do with marketing? Everything, because, really when it comes down to marketing, you know that speed counts. And that is if someone asks you to fix their toilet, then if you're a plumber and you can say, I can be there in an hour, you've got the job. All right. So speed counts in marketing. And so I would say this to us is a breakthrough marketing thing, which I think will do very well. We've already tested it and it's just gone nuts already in terms of, testing. I would say that in itself is what I would suggest to anyone coming through. Make sure you embrace the new technology, and it's here to stay. Make sure that whatever marketing campaigns you're putting together, that you know that AI can be your best friend.
Okay, well, that's a good ending point. So, JD, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and strategies to our listeners. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, David, before you go, I forgot to tell people how they can get their free gift.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this book, which is the Wow Manifesto, with all of these case studies, I'm happy to give you a free gift. See, the evil plan that I have here, David, is that if I give this as a free gift, we normally sell it for $497, but it's a digital product, so therefore I can give it away and it's not going to cost me, okay? But what do you think the evil plan is here? Of course, I give a free gift away, which is called an opt-in, okay? And they give me their name and contact details. Now, it doesn't mean to say I'm going to annoy them forever. It's just that if I have a special deal coming up, so therein is a lesson in marketing. So you can get this if you want to go to wowmanifesto.com/gift, GIFT, because I'm giving you a gift. So it's wowmanifesto.com/gift.
Okay, sounds good.